Welcome back, everybody. This is our YouTube channel, Thinking Bigger, where we break down some of our favorite business books, self-help books, real estate books. And tonight we've got a special book, something that we've really found a lot of great nuggets in. It's called Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf. How to fall in love with the process of becoming great.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. This book was recommended to me by a colleague of mine, a partner of mine, and it was actually recommended to her by her coach. So it came very highly recommended. When you pick it up, it's just a very short book. What is it, about 120 pages long? And there's so much gold here, just so much gold.
So Josh read it first, and he said, this is something you got to read. And he's like, get it immediately. And I was going on a trip, and I had it delivered the next day, and I couldn't put it down. So there's a lot of good information in here. We're going to pick apart a little bit of some of what we found that we liked best. We can't hit on all the topics. But before we do that, let's introduce who we are, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Josh Gossard, real estate agent here in the Frederick, Maryland area. I recently started to go passive with my real estate business, and I've stepped in as the new team leader here at our Keller Williams office in Frederick, Maryland.
My name is Bill Kenny. I'm a real estate investor, real estate agent with Keller Williams. I have a real estate company. I'm a partner in a real estate investing company, and we also hold a monthly meetup, RIA type real estate investor meetup in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
What kind of turnout do you get there at your
It's been growing. We've been at it for about a year and a half. So I would say we probably get 30 to 45 people there, something like that.
Awesome.
You know, it's grown to that.
Good.
So
good.
Pretty good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So jumping in here, where do you want to start?
Well, so we both have some points that we thought were really big. So I say we just save those to the end. But let's kind of go with what we think kind of stood out for us and what we can speak to.
Okay.
So do you have like something that something that really spoke to you or that you've already implemented?
Well, yes,
business?
and before I get to that, I kind of want to give a quick overview, general idea of what the book is, what it's about. You had mentioned in the opening of the show, we talk about business books, real estate books, and this book actually is a life book. Like everything in here can be applied to business, life, relationships, everything. So that's one point I wanted to make out real quick. And one of the things that I really loved about this one was the lessons are told through parables. Mm-hmm. So it's a storyline of characters and going through. And the main character, John, is he's trained to be a samurai archer. Yeah. And he has to go to the village and live with the samurai community for 10 years to be I guess nominated or named an archer, and his sensei is teaching him all these lessons, and it's really powerful.
So in general, the book is about everything that you're going to build, create, become in life. There's a process to that, and I don't want to steal our thunder, but a lot of the process is people discount the process, right?
Yep.
And everybody's thinking about what's it going to be like when I get to the end, but there's
stop right there, because that takes us to the perfect talking point that I wanted to mention was one of the lessons or chapters in the book is one eye for the journey. And he talks about what happens is John, the young man that's training to be a samurai archer, he's so hung up on becoming the archer. When do I get to be the archer? When do I get to go shoot?
Like most people, they pick out a goal in life and they're like, I can't wait for it to get here. I can't wait for this day to come. I can't wait
the promotion, the raise.
How can I get there quicker? How can I do this?
The girl, the new house, the winning the race. And what he talks about is, be careful when you're doing that, because when you're so hung up on the goal, you only have one eye for the journey. And he talked about ice mountain climbers. Yeah. He says when people are climbing a mountain, the ice mountain, they only can focus on the next step, because every step is life or death. If they misplace their footing on the next step, they're slipping off the mountain. If they're hung up worried about the summit, they'll never get there because they'll die on the way because they only have one eye for the journey.
Yeah, and there's so many things that have to be mastered along the path to get to the top. You can't be thinking about the end.
Yep.
Right? There's so many little things that you're going to incur through any process that you have, that each step is important.
It prepares you for the next step.
Yeah,
prepares you for the next step.
Yeah.
We're all where we're at, and most of us are trying to go somewhere else or working towards going somewhere else. And in order to get there, we have to go through where we're at. We can't skip this step of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really good, because
that's important.
It could be
These
so
are-
hung up
These
on the
these
goal.
are all so like very small fundamental lessons about the process, but it's all things that you can think of, and how does that affect me, and how can I take that and use that to my knowledge to make it easier for me, or help me understand where I am in the process, and how to concentrate on where you are at that point.
It's
right?
reassuring.
Yeah,
it's
it
very
really is.
reassuring.
One of the things that I pulled out of there, and this has kind of been in some other books, but he really brought it to light in a new different way, or a new, I guess, creative way for me, is that a lot of people are following what they call an outdated map,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what does that mean? That means that we could have a really long story about this, and how society prepares children for life. But in the book, he was trying to get somewhere, and what he needed to consider was he needed to have a paradigm shift about what he thought the way it should be was totally different. And so his sensei had to teach him that. I think one of the things he said was the map is not the territory.
Yep.
In your mind, right?
Absolutely.
So what that meant is that the map you were giving in the book, or to us when we were kids, right? The map is, do this, do this, do this. But the territory's changed, and that is more truer now than in any time in our lifetimes.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We were trained to work in the industrial age, and now we're in the information age.
Yep.
So that's a great lesson to think about. Are what the people are telling you is, do they actually know the map, or have they been in the territory?
So
right?
that
Yeah.
was the closing question that in that chapter, the Akira Sensei is his name. He asked John. He said, "John, would you, if you were navigating this area, would you rather take directions from someone who studied a map for 25 years, or someone who's traveled the territory for 25 years?" And that's an obvious no-brainer.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to take the advice, the guidance from the.
So what it comes down to is just question everything, right?
Yep.
Think about like what people are telling you. How does that relate to you in your job or your life, or especially if you're young?
What
Like-
filter are they?
like,
is that coming through?
We used to send everybody to college. Now people are becoming millionaires and never spending one day in a class.
Yep.
So is the map that you're following right? For the territory you're in.
Yep. Absolutely.
What's another one? There's so many good ones in this book.
A big one for me, another lesson was nothing is a test. That was another lesson or chapter in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point in the book, John was carrying water, and he was trying to carry more. Of course, chop wood, carry water. He was trying to carry more water than the
he was trying to
other guys.
one up
in
the next guy. Yeah.
The other guys. And so he falls and hurts himself, dumps his water everywhere. Kira Sensei comes and says, "How's everything going?" He's like, "I'm just trying to carry as much water as I can." He says, "Are you trying to carry as much as you can, or are you trying to carry more than the next guy?" And the point he was really driving home was nothing is a test. It's only an opportunity to learn and get better. And when you approach life, hardships, quote unquote failures that way, you don't really lose. It's impossible to lose when you approach it that way, because if you're coming at it from an open mind, what can I get from this? What is this teaching me?
You don't, and there's another lesson in the book about this, but to your point, it's like, how can I compare myself against myself yesterday is what he's saying,
Yep.
right? Not again, but the guy beside me or the lady over here,
Or not
but,
even who you choose to be in the future.
Yeah.
It's how do you
How am
compare
I
to
progressing?
yesterday?
Yeah, in this moment.
Yep.
Yeah, not so much what
Absolutely.
the other person's doing.
That was a really, really good one. What else? What else
Yeah.
did you find useful?
So this is also something that's very common these days. The chapter that talks about living by principles rather than your feelings.
Yes.
So a lot of us are just like a slave to our feelings, right?
Yep.
And that's not going to do well for us because
Not at all.
our body is basically trained to keep us out of danger, to keep us safe, to keep eating, to put fat on for the winter. A lot of these things that our body tells us are here to keep us safe, but that's not right. Like, if you focus on certain principles that you find in other people of where you want to get to, that's what you need to be focusing on. Not what you feel like in the moment, but where you want to go.
Yep.
So principles like integrity. Like if you're thinking about that, I need to think about how I'm going to come out in the end based on my integrity in this situation.
Yep.
If you go into situations where you focus on your principles rather than how you feel, because we all have certain feelings that are going to pull us in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
So things like maybe being bold, being more, having more courage, those kinds of things will help us in a moment when we don't, our feelings are telling us one thing, we can concentrate on those principles that are actually going to take us in a different direction.
It's so good. I was in a business planning clinic recently, just 2 weeks ago now, and the thing she had said, the question she asked was, when you're done for the day, are you truly done, or are you done feeling like trying? And I thought that was a really good question, because it's right in line with the lesson. Like, are you truly done for the day, or are you just done feeling like it?
Yeah. Are your feelings telling you to quit?
Yep.
Or does the job still need completed?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really.
So don't
really
be a
good.
slave to your feelings.
Yep.
Manage your day on the principles in your life.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then one of the final things that I really want to touch on that I really got out of it was uncomfortable isn't a choice. And in the book, what's happening at this point, John is training, and it's like the dead of winter. It's raining. He's freezing cold. His bones ache. And again, the wise sensei comes and he's talking to him, and he's like, "Is everything okay?" And he's just so cold. It's painful. It hurts. And he's like, "It's really uncomfortable." And he says, "Well, uncomfortable isn't a choice. But where you're uncomfortable, when you're uncomfortable, that is a choice."
Yeah.
And would you rather be uncomfortable here when no one's watching? Or would you rather be uncomfortable under the bright lights when everyone is watching?
You're gonna experience an uncomfortable time. You can just choose when you want it to be. Is what he's saying, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, like, I shared this with you a little earlier in preparation for the YouTube video this evening. I'm trying to really get my kids to understand this. They'll complain, they're teenagers, they complain about the school work's hard or the chores are hard, and it's just like, look, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard somewhere. It can either be hard now or it can be hard later.
Yeah.
Like, you can put the work in now and learn and make it easier for yourself later, or vice versa.
At some point in your life, you're going to need to learn how to learn, right?
Yep.
So why don't you do it now and put the work in, right? Because, that's going to come at some point. There's no way around it, right?
Yep.
So you can choose when to be uncomfortable. Choose
And
now, right?
it's-
And put it and make your life better.
And
the
in
long
this
run.
instance with my kids, it's a lot better to be uncomfortable when you're at home
Yeah.
living with daddy
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
when you're out there on your own
That's
trying to
right.
figure it out.
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah,
trying
exactly.
to figure it out.
When you're not getting paid for the value, or you're getting paid for your value,
Yeah.
right? So
It's
create
just
that
not what
value
you
early.
want. It's
That's
just
right.
not what you want.
Yeah. Another one that I really liked was, I think it was called Rough Side of the Mountain.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And so what that one talked about was that it's very similar to what you were just talking about, but there's always going to be a hard patch, And if you always put off going through that hard patch or those tough times, you're always just putting off your development of your skills, getting better. That whenever you're faced with a challenge, that challenge is put in front of you to become a better person. Like if you fix or find a solution to that, then you've become a better person. So go embrace it, right? Go through the rough side of the mountain, because it's just going to make you a stronger person in the end. And you actually should welcome it. But everybody's going to have to go, down the easy side, but you're going to have to go up the rough side.
Yep.
So you can't get down the other side until you have the challenges of the rough side of the mountain.
It's so good. The book is just, we could literally talk for hours on these lessons.
That's just a couple of our favorite ones, and
like I said, 120 pages. It was just like, and it's really cool. The lessons are only like 3 pages. It's easy to chunk it down.
Super easy to read, and those are some of my favorite books where it's like a story, and they've weaved all those great topics into the story, which is exactly what this is.
Yeah.
There's
really, really good.
Every page of this book, there's something that you're going to be highlighting.
It's so true.
And writing, and it's so easy
true.
to read.
So true.
Let's kind of bring this to an end here. And I know there's a lot of lessons in here, but there was one that we kind of just said, this is the one that we need to highlight.
Yep.
And this is kind of where it all distills out into.
And it's interesting that he kind of opened with this lesson. This was the first lesson. And the lesson is, you're always building your own house. Like that was the title of the chapter. That's the lesson actually learned. And
there's
you want to share the overview of the story.
Yeah, the story was very quickly. There was a great builder who built custom homes in Japan, and he was done and ready to retire. And
he was very, very well known.
Yeah, very well known.
Had a very meticulous process,
and built some of the most beautiful homes in the region. And his employers asking. We know you're done and it's time to retire and move on to new things, but we want you to build one more house. And his heart really wasn't in it, but he didn't want to let his employer down. They had a great relationship, so he built that one last house, but he wasn't really part of the process. He didn't really do all the things that he'd always done, and he just wanted to get through it in the end.
He had delegated much, much more than what he ever did before, cut some corners, and so really built it with his heart.
And so at the end, he went to his employer and he said, okay, I'm finally done. I hope they don't give me another house to build. I am totally done. I've checked out. And he said, this is it. Okay, let's part our ways here. And the employer said, we want to thank you for all your years of service. Here's the keys to your new house.
And it was the house that he built.
It was the house that he built. So what we're saying there is that whatever you're building, whatever the process you're in, whatever job you're doing, do it well, even if it's for somebody else, because you're building your reflection on that other person. You're building your principles. Everything that you put into there, any product that you create, is a reflection of yourself.
Absolutely.
And that is so important. Such an important concept. And it's a mindset that will basically change the way you look at work, I think.
It changes the way you look at life, because if you go back to, think about how many minor interactions you have throughout the course of the day. Maybe it's an interaction with a cashier at the grocery store. Like, there's all these little things that you never know where you might run into this person again, how this might show up again later in your life, or how you interact with someone and it makes you feel, and then you go somewhere else and you carry those feelings with you. And this, like, it was so big for me. Like, just to even hear you tell the story again, it's just like everything you're doing will come back and reflect on you. Yeah,
you're not going to know some of the things that you do, how that reflects on other people. So getting great with the process, being engaged all the time, because the work that you provide is a reflection of yourself. And by doing the best you can, focusing on the process, you're becoming a better person, and you're going to be more well respected, right?
Right.
And you're becoming a better person. Like,
absolutely.
It's just being committed to the process, and it's good for both sides, especially you.
Awesome. So closing out here, Bill, what was like the one thing that you took away from the book that really like changed things from you? If you could narrow it down to one thing, like one, even just like one talking point,
Yeah.
what would it be?
So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of really good little one-liners. A couple of them that jump, to the forefront of my thought process is focusing on the process while we're surrendering to the outcome. So I know that speaks to you, right? We just talked about that.
Absolutely.
So and there's a whole bunch of stories in the book about that, but worry about who you're becoming in the process, not what it looks like at the end.
Yep.
Right. That's a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's hundreds of them.
So that was the one for me. Like that was really like, I'm experiencing that now in my life is just surrendering the outcome. Like, I know that if I'm on this ice mountain and I am cautious with my next step and I take my next step appropriately, I'll get to the summit. It's not going to happen like today when I want it to happen. And I know all I can do is keep taking the next step. I can just keep taking that next step, nailing that next step, and eventually I'll get to the summit.
Was there anything else in there that any phrases that jumped out at you?
If I'm going to leave our viewers with anything, just another one that was really good to me was everyone wants to be great until it's time to do what greatness requires.
That is so true. That is so true.
In the book, they talk about
how many people put down a project or a book or whatever it is after
it's hard.
Yeah.
It gets hard
after they start to get into the beginning of the rough side of the mountain, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, in the book they talked about, he makes John as a basketball fan, and he talked about John Wooten, who was the famous basketball
UCLA
coach,
head coach,
and he talks about
coach.
how he went in and in his early days when he first got started, they were practicing in a barn, and he would have to sweep the barn at night, when no one's there, and he talks about everyone wants to be great, and so you got to go sweep the barn at night when nobody's watching. Like it's dirty, hard work.
Yeah.
Everyone sees this success and thinks, oh, this greatness, this success, that's flashy, that's sexy. I want the fast car, the big house, the girl, the this, the that. But do you want to put in the work? Do you want to do what it requires? Are you ready to write that check?
Yeah.
Because that's what it takes.
And if you're focusing on the process, then you probably are more inclined to do that. But let's not give all the secrets away. Let's let them read something in
Read
here.
the book. Check out the book. You can find it on Amazon,
That's
of course.
awesome.
You got it like next day delivery.
Yeah, it was like one day and it was there.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's well worth it. But thanks, guys, for checking out our YouTube channel again. We hope you subscribe if you like the content we're giving. We're going to continue to hit awesome books like this. Give us a like.
Yeah, like it, share it, hit the subscribe button.
Share it with your friends.
If you have questions, comments, if you've read the book and you've taken some things away, drop that below. If there's a book you'd like us to discuss, share that below. We'll be happy to take a look at that. Most of my books come recommended anyway, so I'd love to see what you guys think.
Yeah.
But that's it. I'm good.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
See ya.